Hello friends, this video on human health and diseases part 4 is brought to you by examfear.com. No more fear from exam. So now when we talk about infectious diseases, that is the diseases which spread from one person to another. Now the cause of the diseases become very important because infectious diseases is something that is not present inside your body by birth. So it is under your control, because if you know how that particular disease spreads, you can actually prevent it from spreading. So before we talk about the infectious diseases, it is very important to introduce pathogens. Now what are pathogens? These are the disease causing organisms. Now there are a set of microorganisms which cause these diseases. So such disease causing organisms are called pathogens. So most parasites are pathogens. Now what are parasites? By now we all know that these are those organisms which live inside the body of another organism, and then it obtains its nutrition from that organism. And what is that other organism called inside which the parasites live? That is known as the host organism. So the parasites live inside the body of host or on the body of host, and they obtain their nutrition from host, and also in return they cause damage to the host. So it is like both ways the parasites are benefited and the host is like utilized for no reason. So you might take the example of, let us suppose that you ate something, some food item which was contaminated with some microorganism, which is a pathogen or which is a parasite that can cause disease. So now this organism gets inside your body, and then it lives inside your body for quite some time. It derives nutrition from your body, and at the end of that it causes some disease inside your body. So what is that? That organism is the parasite and your body acts as the host. So most of the parasites are pathogens, that is, they are capable of causing disease in the host body. So there are many different ways by which these organisms enter inside the human body. And once they enter inside the body, they adapt themselves within the environment of the host. Now once they adapt themselves, they get their nutrition from the host, they multiply inside the host, they reproduce inside them, so their population also keeps on increasing. Now as the population of the microorganism increases inside the body, they start to interfere with the normal activities, and that is when the functional damage is being caused. So what happens, as you can see here, see inside the intestine, so this portion is the intestine. So if you look at this portion more closely, you get to see that these microorganisms are actually partying in the intestine. So how did these organisms enter inside your body? There can be many different ways. Maybe through the food item which you ate, they enter inside your body. And as you all know, through the digestive tract, they will be very easily reaching the intestine. And then in the intestine, they consider the intestine as their house. They live there, they obtain their food, they reproduce, they increase in number. Now as they keep on increasing in number, what happens? They start interfering with the activities of the body. For example, this is how food poisoning is caused, because when you eat something that has some organisms which can cause disease, and that is why the process of digestion doesn't happen properly, and that is when you tend to have loose motions or vomiting. So all these things, or stomach ache, so all these things happen because of these parasites partying in your intestine. Now some of the examples of pathogens are bacteria, viruses, fungi, protozoa, worms. All of these are capable of causing diseases. Now bacteria, virus, fungi, protozoa, they are all very small organisms or microorganisms. Now some of the worms which are like not very small, like the roundworms, the Ascaris, Buceraria, so those worms, they are not very minute in size, but still these worms can also get inside your body, maybe through contaminated food or some other means, and then they can also cause disease inside your body. So now we are going to look at some of the common diseases in humans. So first of all, we will take up the infectious diseases, and then we will look at the cause of each disease and how they can be treated. Now, before we go ahead with the list of diseases, some of the terminologies which are related to infection are pathogen. As I was discussing just now, these are the microbes that cause diseases. Example, bacteria, viruses. Host, that it is that organism which the microbe attacks. So the pathogen lives inside the body of an organism and cause disease in an organism. So that organism is host. So in this case, in most of the cases we will see, because the diseases which we are going to talk about are the human diseases. So the host in these cases is the human being. Then the third terminology is parasite. So parasite again is that organism which live inside the body of host and it derives nutrient from the host. Now it is not necessarily that it will kill the host. It can cause damage to the host. Maybe it gives competition to the host for nutrition because it starts sharing the nutrition. But it is not necessary that it is going to kill the host. But sometimes it might kill the host as well. And most of these parasites are pathogens. That is, they can cause diseases. Some of the examples of parasites are tapeworms or lice. Vector. What is vector? So you would have heard about scalar and vector in your physics, but here vector means something else. It is nothing but the transmitting agent. Now we are going to talk about the infectious diseases which spread from one person to another. So how in some of the diseases it is seen that there are certain organisms which help to transmit the parasites from one person to another person. So these kind of organisms are called vectors. So they introduce parasites into the host body. So how the parasites enter inside the body of human being. For example, how bacteria enter inside human beings. So some of the bacteria or viruses might enter through contaminated food which we eat, or through the contaminated water which we drink, or the contaminated air which we inhale. Now, is there any other way by which any organism can get inside our body? The fourth way is through vector. That is, there are some other organisms, for example, mosquitoes or flies, which can actually make the parasite enter inside our body. So when the mosquito bites us, so it can actually make that particular parasite enter our body. Similarly, the house flies or the other small insects which are very commonly seen in our locality. So those insects might come and they might contaminate the food which we are about to eat. So these kind of organisms which act as transmitting agents by introducing the parasites into the host body, they are called vectors. An example is a mosquito. You all know that malaria is a disease which is caused by the bite of mosquito. So mosquito there acts as the transmitting agent. While biting a person, it introduces the parasite inside the body of the person, and then the parasite cause the disease called malaria. So these are some of the terminologies which we will be using very often now. Now some of the common diseases, rather infectious diseases which we are going to talk about now are typhoid, pneumonia, common cold, malaria, amoebiasis, ascariasis, elephantiasis, and ringworm. So these are the list of diseases and they are all infectious diseases, and we here in this section of the lesson we are going to talk about the cause of each of these diseases, the way they are transmitted, that is their mode of transmission, and their symptoms and treatment. So these are the few things which we will talk about in each of these diseases. So thank you. Please visit examfear.com for an easy 4-step learning process absolutely free of cost. Watch video lessons, ask questions, refer notes, and take an online test. Thank you once again.